Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play It by Ear podcast. I am your host, Carrie, with my co-host here, Joanna.
Hello.
And today we are going to talk about professional networking, how we get connected. So before we begin, let me just tell all our listeners and our viewers that I am a pretty shy person. I am an introvert, I think. So yeah, this is definitely not something that I am good at. I want to say actually I suck at, because I tend to clam up and not have a lot to say when I first meet people. Joanna can testify to that. Yeah. But I think I have learned over the years of just listening and observing what my peers do. I think I've learned a few tricks and tips here and there watching on the sidelines. So yeah, just a little bit of a inside story.
I love that. I mean, as your friend, I feel that you should give yourself a little bit more credit than that.
Okay, thank you.
I think, I guess my response to that is that a lot of people think that when we network professionally, that we need to be very charismatic and we need to be very out there and extroverted, talking a lot, blah, blah, blah. But it's not really all about that. You know, it's also about, like, do you vibe with the other person that you're talking to? Listening is actually a really fantastic skill that you naturally have. And people notice. I notice that people these days really notice. If I really sit back and listen to people, a lot of people will actually catch themselves while they're talking and just interrupt the conversation to say, "You're a really good listener." And I don't know, have you had that happen to you before?
I'm not sure. I can't say I have.
You definitely are a very good listener. I'll be that person telling you that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're a very good listener. I think more and more people nowadays are valuing people who listen. So I'm glad that it's turning into that attitude these days, that I think more people are embracing of our introverts, you know?
Yeah. It like you said, it is an important skill to have.
Well, I mean, I guess my question to you then would be, like, what were you taught, you know, like in the beginning about professional networking? Were you taught about professional networking? Did anyone tell you what you should do?
I don't think I really have been taught anything specific, really. It's more just listening to what my dad has said growing up, things that I should do, how I should behave, especially how you shake hands with people. Like to have a firm grip when you're shaking hands, so you mean business. Right. So that is something that I have taken with me. When I hand people things, maybe because I'm Asian, I hand it double-handed. Yeah, as a sign of respect, things like that. But I think really in terms of conversation or building rapport with the other person, nothing much really. It's just, like I said at the beginning, it's just through listening to what my peers have done, right, and learning from that and taking some of their wording, how they phrase things, how they ask questions especially, and taking those and running with it.
Was there like a specific experience that you remember learning from watching someone else do it?
Not really, no. Do you remember anything?
Like, I don't remember an exact situation, I guess, but I guess it's because I'm very frequently, if I'm sitting, for example, in an orchestra, I'm not sitting in the first chair. I'm sitting in the second chair or third chair or piccolo, right?
Yep.
And so I'm always watching how my first flutist, my principal flutist, is behaving. I notice that I will frequently watch how they act and watch how they address the conductor, watch how they address other musicians. And I've been blessed with lovely principal flutists in my life. I recognize that to be a very lucky blessing. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it is because the flute world, I'm just going to say it, is known for being extremely catty, and highly hyper competitive. So to have been blessed with so many lovely principal flutists in my life, I recognize how lucky I am. But I had some great role models. So I would watch how they would talk with people, and in a way I would sort of mimic them to see how I liked acting like that, if that makes sense. The person that I'm really thinking about in terms of me mimicking how she talks with other musicians was my first flutist that I played with here in Seattle. I'm not in the Seattle Symphony, but I did play with the Ensign Symphony and Chorus, and my principal flutist there was absolutely fantastic, and she's like my big flute sister. And so I would just kind of watch how she talked with people. I really enjoyed how she was so respectful of people, and she would always ask, people, oh, how are you doing? How's life? And the biggest thing I remember is her remembering random things about, conversations that she had had with other musicians about things that were not music.
Yeah, I think now that you say that, I try and remember things to do with their lives.
Yeah.
Or their families, rather than having to do with music. So that way you kind of get to know them as a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
On top of a musician.
Yeah. And it has a huge impact, weirdly, in the professional sense, because I think when your life is acknowledged as a human and not just judged as a musician, you want to work with that person more because you don't feel judged by them. And I think she really understood this concept. So she would always ask about people's babies, about people's kids, about people's husbands. She would ask me, because she actually watched my relationship with John. She actually watched that blossom. And so I remember the first time I mentioned my boyfriend, and she was like, excuse me, your boyfriend? Who is this boy? And so we would just end up talking about boys, really, and not about the flute. And, years later, I'm like, this is the flutist that I want to work with, because I feel like we really can bond. And I think a lot of music making only really works if you're actually friends with the people that you're working with. So in a weird way, I guess I'm saying that professional networking in the music world is actually just making friends.
Good point.
Yeah.
I think, thinking back now, I think it has to do with, a lot of the connections I was able to make is through one of our mutual friends, and he's introduced me to different conductors and different players, and it's through these contacts that your network kind of grows.
Yeah, and it's because you're friends. You are friends. So of course he's gonna want to work with you on those projects and stuff. Of course he's gonna refer you. Of course because I think whenever one of us are involved in a project, and we hear that there's an opportunity for our friend to fill in the position of another position within that project, we'll be like, definitely let's try to get as many of our friends involved in this.
Yes.
Because we already know each other. So it's really weird that I guess the professional networking, at least in our experiences, is not that professional in a really weird way. you know?
Yeah, in a way, it has to do with like your closer platonic
Yeah.
relationships. So I guess maybe this can be applied in general. Just don't burn any bridges.
Yeah. Don't burn any bridges. Oh, it's so true. Um, have you seen that happen?
I have not in music, but I have in the other field that I was involved in early childhood education.
I mean, can we talk?
I have heard stories.
Yeah,
Of
can we talk vaguely about that? Like, what happens when you
Yeah,
burn a
of course.
bridge?
So the person was leaving the company or leaving the school,
Yeah.
and they were unhappy, of course. So that's why they chose to leave. And as they were, I think they were doing an exit interview. I can't remember exactly. They just basically swore at the manager, I think.
Oh my.
Like just bad mouthed everyone.
Whoa.
Wasn't very polite at all. And then I think a year later, she had to ask for a reference letter. So she tried asking that the manager there, I think. So no response.
I mean,
I
obviously.
mean, what can you expect
Yeah.
if you were impolite in leaving?
Yeah.
You left a sour taste
Yeah.
in their mouth. So yeah, she burned that bridge.
Ooh. Ooh, that's not good.
Yeah,
You know what?
as an example.
Yeah, I think like my initial thought process upon hearing that is that it sounds like there was a lack of understanding that the people around you that you work with are not just like non-playable characters in your life.
Yeah.
You know, they're not NPCs. That I think once we realize that the people around us are humans and humans have bad days, or humans get burnt out, or humans sometimes are stuck between a rock and a hard place. Sometimes the people who are, you know, asking you to do certain things, they may not feel very good asking you to do, you know, like to, you know, do an impossible project, or, you know, play an impossible trill or something. You know what I mean? Like those people who are asking us to do those things, I think once we realize that they are humans too, you know, one, we get a lot more empathetic, but like, I think the thing that I realize is that, you know, we can't demonize them. And I feel like if I let myself demonize someone for some wrongdoing that they did against me, that's when I will feel the right to badmouth them, to curse them out, to whatever. But it's because, you know, in that situation, I'm not seeing them as human, right?
Yeah.
But I think ever since I really started to see everyone around me as a human, it just changed everything, because it's like, oh, like, I wonder what's happening that's causing them to have to ask me to do this impossible thing, right? Or demanding me to do this impossible thing, or, you know, something like that, right? Or burdening me. Why are they burdening me? Why are they blah, 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 you know? But it's like, I think when we realize that they're humans too,
Yeah.
it just makes everything a little lighter in a weird way. And it really prevents us from dehumanizing them, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's where we can accidentally start to burn bridges, is when we don't see people as humans too, you know? So
I agree.
yeah, that's just something I've been considering, because my attitude towards some people in my past who I used to feel wronged me, my attitude towards them has completely changed recently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I now realize, I'm like, you know, I don't blame them for saying what they said or doing what they did. You know, like sometimes people are at the end of their rope, and they don't know what to say, and they don't know what to do, and they're not trained to deal with a person like me, I guess, you know, and they blow up, you know?
Yeah.
Like humans are humans, you know? I don't blame them anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know, I realize that in these situations I have as much responsibility in dehumanizing them in my brain as maybe they did too, of dehumanizing me, right? So
Oh, probably.
yeah, it's real weird, man. Like I think like it's a bit of like you know, networking is a bit of making friends, but also like I feel like we network better when we really realize that we're not the main characters in our own lives, you know, that we're really just a part of a larger universe, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I think it's a good segue into what I was thinking, because for me, I've never really thought of like, oh, I'm kind of like demonizing this person,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think I am at fault for doing that too sometimes, even now still.
Yeah, same. Like, I mean, I'm only talking about it because I realize I do it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, when you catch yourself, and that's when you're able to realize like, okay, I am actually doing this, and maybe let's do something to change.
Yeah.
For me, I try to remind myself that no man is an island. We cannot function alone. As much as you think you are capable of handling everything, there will come a point where you just have to call on someone for help, for assistance, to ask something.
Yeah.
So I just feel like even if that person has wronged you in the past, or they have insulted you, or whatever, like you said, they're human still. They must have had a reason, hopefully,
Yeah.
for doing something like that. And you never know. People change, so just view them as human beings and keep living your life, and let them keep living their lives. And maybe one day you'll cross paths again, and you might be working together. You never know.
Yes. That is huge in the music world, because especially the classical music world is such a small world. It is.
You run into each other a
Oh,
lot.
yeah. The people that you thought, like, especially when you get into the professional level, the people that you thought that, like, oh, you know, I dealt with them back in music school, and, oh, you know, I graduated and I moved far away and I don't have to deal with them again. No, that's not how it works. The world is very small. And you will encounter these people, even if not in a project. You will encounter them via social media. You know, you'll encounter them, you know, because especially right now right now as we're recording this, we're in the middle of the pandemic. It is early 2021 right now. And so everyone is stuck at home, and so everyone's posting their own stuff on social media and, you know, content, you know, creating platforms, you know, Twitch, YouTube, etc. And so what happens then is that other professionals, it doesn't even matter how far away they are from you, they're going to see your stuff, you know, and you're going to see their stuff, you know, and like you cannot get away from the people that you thought you could get away from.
Very true.
Yeah, you can't get away from them. And so it's less about, you know, refusing to work with those people. Although I will say that in some cases it can be justified if there was like actual, you know, abuse that was happening, or there was actual, you know, like a really, really terrible situation where you have decided that you are not going to professionally work with, you know, some people anymore. That is completely understandable. And if you have a very good reason for why you cannot be in contact with someone again, you know, at least I support that. There is one person in my mind that I know I will not work with professionally ever. Like, they are the type of person where if I found myself in the same project as them, I would walk away from the project, right? Like, I understand that that is the case, that can happen. But, you know, for most everyone, though, everyone's just kind of being a human, bumbling along, making mistakes and accidentally blowing up at each other. And I think what we need to realize is that we're just as at fault for accidentally somewhat burning bridges as everyone else is around us, you know? And the thing is, even if you burn a bridge, you can repair it. It is possible to repair a bridge. If, you know, if you are willing to be that, to have that kind of integrity, to say, hey, I messed up. I'm sorry. I apologize for what I did. I had no excuse for behaving the way I did. And, you know, I hope you'll forgive me, but, you know, that's totally fine if you don't want to. But, you know, hey, I apologize and let's work together, you know? Like, if you can say that, honestly, most people will, you know, like, respect you that much more, you know? But yeah, you can't get away from it. Like, you can't get away from people in the classical music world.
No. I just took a glance at our notes when you were saying that, and I just caught the line of staying connected with your professors.
Yeah.
That is something that still happens too. So
you end up working with your professors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've experienced that quite a bit now, especially in the freelance circuit. I've ended up sitting next to my teachers a few times.
Yeah. It happens, you know? So, you know, I've worked professionally on some projects with Dr. Bob, who was our theory professor. And he's actually a composer as well. And he actually just ended up hiring me to do his alto flute piece, Rebirth. Yeah, I got paid. It was a paid gig, you know? And it was actually kind of a project that I had a hand in too, because he was asking my for my input as well in it. So I had a creative hand in it as well. And you know, like it's very interesting that, you know, like no one would ever think that you would end up working professionally with your music theory professor, you know? Yeah. That's just not really something people consider, but it can happen to you, you know? Yep. So, yeah.
Another thing that I've learned for our listeners and viewers who are active on social media, just be careful, I think, in general, what you post.
Yeah.
Because you never know who might see it and who might come across that post.
It's not to say that you have to be super professional with every post. You can be silly, right?
Yeah.
But you need to be careful that the type of things that you say are not disrespectful to certain people, that they're not, you know, like ousting certain people or, you know, ostracizing certain group of people.
Targeting a certain group.
Yeah. Like, you need to be kind in your posts and kind-hearted, empathetic. Yeah, be careful. Be careful what you post.
Just be responsible and be respectful when you post.
Yeah. There is a saying that whatever you post on the internet stays on the internet.
It does.
It never really goes away. You can try to delete it and somehow someone will dig it up.
Yeah. It is somewhere.
Yep. So it's, yeah. As a person who basically makes their living online, I can vouch for that.
Do you have any stories to share?
I mean, I personally don't, because I have actually been very careful from the beginning. The other thing is that, let's be fair, my channel isn't that huge in the grand scheme of YouTube. My channel is actually fairly small. Thank you. But I don't run into the crazy scandals that a lot of people will normally run into. Like, if they get really big into the millions of viewers and stuff like that. There's only really a small handful of very large YouTubers out there that are completely not problematic. More often than not, there will be some sort of drama that happens or something like that, where someone said some offhand comment about some other YouTuber and then it was misconstrued, and then so basically it hasn't happened to me, but I am a total sucker for YouTube drama. I am a total sucker for it. That is my like trash TV that I watch. I will like, you know, like get caught up on the latest YouTube like beauty guru drama and stuff like that. I know it's like it's complete trash. It's complete trash, and I should not actually really like delve into it, but like there's a part of me that just needs that like drama llama fed, you know? So I like will keep up with all these like stupid YouTube dramas, but like in a weird way, from keeping up with it, I kind of know what not to do.
Yeah, you learn from it.
Yeah,
too.
so
That's not entirely bad.
it's not, I guess, but like it I recognize, and I will completely take responsibility for how trash it is for me to like keep up with that stuff. But yeah, like, so I see a lot of stuff from the sidelines. I haven't really experienced it firsthand. Definitely I have experienced some drama with some people in my life, but I wouldn't say that it was like on, you know, like the platform, like on YouTube. That anything that has happened is not big enough to be considered drama. So you know, yeah, so it's just one of those things where I feel that as long as you have integrity and you can recognize when you've messed up, and then you apologize and you don't make excuses for why you messed up, then I think you're good to go. Because honestly, people will be like, oh yeah, they're human, okay, you know, that's cool, they apologized and they didn't try and make up excuses. That's the thing, is that you know, an apology is not an apology if you only are sorry that you got caught, right? Like if you're going to apologize, you need to apologize because you actually mean it, right? And you're following through with your apology, and you're not making, you know, excuses and stuff. And honestly, if people see that, humans are pretty understanding when they see someone else mess up and apologize for it. Okay, I would say generally people are like, oh, that's nice that they apologized, you know, I'm glad that they're learning and picking things up, you know. Yes, there will be a small percentage of people who will hold it against you forever, but really at that point that's on them. It's not really your problem anymore, you know. There's nothing you can do about that. So yeah, that's kind of my, I guess, sideline experience of watching drama happen. And all of those people have, at one point, usually they have worked with each other before. Yeah, the people who have had drama with each other. They have worked with each other before. They have like a history of collaborations or something like that. And then like things like blew up down the road.
Okay.
Yeah, usually that's where the drama happens. The drama, like the biggest drama, is usually between people who know each other.
Oh, well, it makes sense.
Right? They know each other, they've worked with each other.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So if you guys are experiencing drama, it's likely that it's with someone you actually know. You know, more often than not. It's you know, a lot of people think like, oh, you know, like I'm gonna be up against this like this person for the same chair, you know, that I don't know this person.
That's competition.
Yeah, it's competition, but it's like, it's not, you know, when you get to the professional level, you realize it's just completely silly. There's like, there's no, you know, like it doesn't matter. No one cares what chair you're in anymore when you're at the professional level. You know, that's not the type of drama.
Some people still do care.
Some people do. That's true. But, I would say a large majority don't care, though.
Do you care?
No. If I care, it's that I don't want to sit in first chair.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It's just I see how much responsibility there is in being principal, because you have to be, you're essentially managing the whole section. You're the manager. That's actually what you are. And I don't want to be a manager. It does not interest me. I do not want to manage other players. I just don't. I enjoy being managed, like I enjoy having the music handed to me. I enjoy, my principal flutist saying, "Hey, can you play this like this?" And I don't have to make those decisions. It's great, So to me, yeah. I'm like, I will just follow her to the death. I don't care, because it's the group thing. It's not about me showing off how great I am, right? It's about making the group sound good. So I will just follow whatever she says to the death, It's great. I don't want that responsibility. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Wow. What else can we talk about? Oh.
Well,
I did see that I mentioned that I went out for coffees and meals with our professors.
Can you talk a bit about that?
So, I definitely did that. I don't know if anyone else did. I'm actually very curious. Have you done stuff like that with our professors?
No, I haven't.
So
like I told you, I'm shy. I would not reach out to them. Hey, let's go for it. No.
Wow, I must be really weird then.
No, it's your way of connecting with them. It's your way of networking and building that relationship.
I suppose so. So I mean,
there's no standard, I don't think.
Yeah, I'll give a little bit more background as to why I do that. It's kind of like how when, earlier I was asking you, like, how did you learn how to be professional? And you mentioned that it was actually your dad, right? That taught you a lot of how to be professional. In my case, I was basically following what my brother does. So my brother, and he's done this since he was like in high school. He's actually done this for a really long time. If he's very interested in chatting with a teacher or a professor about a certain topic, he will grab coffee with them. Oh. So it didn't come out of nowhere for me. For me, I was watching my brother do this all the time. And I don't know where he got it from. I have a suspicion it has something to do with my dad too, because I know that my dad will grab coffee with people very frequently. It's the same type of thing. Like, the idea is that instead of being in their office and being in office hours, where it's like, it's almost too direct, if that makes sense, right? Like, there's not another thing to focus on. At the very least, when you're out for coffee or tea, right, you have the drink to kind of focus on too, right? And when you have that other thing to focus on, or it's like a meal or something, right? When you have that other thing to focus on, in a weird way, it kind of like lightens up the conversation a bit, and it allows you to talk a little bit more freely without feeling like there's as much pressure. Because I'm sure you've experienced this, going into office hours in general is very like, the professor is just kind of like looking at you and like, okay, what questions do you have for me?
Yeah, it's like very much to the point. Quick.
Yeah, it's super to the point. It's really in your face. And it's really intimidating. And so I just wanted to not be in that environment. So the idea was to pick both of us up as student and professor, and place us in an environment that was not school. And what that does is it sort of weirdly evens out the playing field, where suddenly we're not in an environment where we're expected to be professor and student anymore. Right? Because even the waiters or waitresses that come over and help you out, if you're out for a meal, they treat you both equally. Right? It's not, because when you're in a school, it's kind of like a TA or like a professor who looks super young, ends up often getting disrespected or treated very poorly because other professors might accidentally think that they're a student, right? There's definitely a power dynamic that exists in the environment of school. The thing is, those professors would never treat that professor poorly just because they thought they were a student if the two of them were in a different place, right? So the environment matters. And I learned this trick from my brother, right? So my brother was the one who would always kind of change the environment so that the conversation can flow, right? And his idea was that humans really start talking over food, right? Over a shared meal, over food, over like, even if it's not food, drinks of any kind. I mean, it could be alcoholic, okay? It could be caffeinated, right? But like, as long as it's some sort of drink that they have on hand, that like, for some reason, it loosens us up as human beings. It makes you see the other person as a human being too, seeing them literally consume something. I don't know, for some reason, it might just like, it might just kind of make something click in our like ape brains that like the other person is truly a human. And I think it goes the other way around too, because then the professor sees you as another human being, albeit a developing human being, but a human being as well. So that was the thought process behind how I ended up, asking for these professors to come out to coffee with me. And the way that I ask is, can I buy you a coffee? So you have to be willing to pay for it.
It's worth it.
Yeah. If you're willing to pay for it, it's only like $5, okay? I mean, that's expensive for a coffee, but it's really only $5 basically to chat with them, what that shows though, when you say, hey, can I buy you a coffee? What that shows is that you are really willing to spend the time and the energy and money, like even money, to be like, I want your input. Right? And showing that type of initiative, professors love that.
Yeah.
They love it. They love when a student shows that type of initiative, saying, hey, it's really what you are showing is a signal, right? It's a signal that, hey, I'm here to listen, right? If you say, can I buy you a coffee? So that I learned that from my dad and my brother. That's where that came from.
Neat.
Yeah. So I went out for a good number of coffees and lunches, and even continued going for coffees, breakfasts with Dr. Bob, even after I graduated. So we've been keeping this up pretty much every time, pre-pandemic, at least once a year. Okay. I'm still waiting for the next time I can go up and grab another breakfast with Dr. Bob. We frequently do breakfast together because we feel that we can talk the most over food, and it's absolutely it's a life changer, guys. It's a life changer to be able to find a professor that you can really connect with and who can really mentor you. And this is a person that you can fall back on when things get tough. So I have had at least 2 situations now that have, like, I didn't know what to do. I can't really talk about it here, but let's just say that professionally I was not doing very well. Some drama had happened in my professional life. And so I ended up calling him up those 2 times and been like, dude, I'm stuck, man. I don't need your, like, your instructions on what to do. I need your experience. Have you experienced something like this before, and how did you deal with it? Because that's what I need to know. And both times he just came right to the rescue. He didn't solve my problems, but he certainly shared his own experience that mirrored mine. And it really helped me out. It just settled me, made me feel like I was not alone. And dude, like, having someone like Dr. Bob back you up is insane, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not that he was backing me up to like go attack someone else. I don't mean that at all. He was not involved at all in anything that I was having trouble with. He was completely an outsider. That's actually one of the reasons I went to him, is because he's so outside of my professional work, right? So yeah, that's been absolutely insane. So guys, if you can, you know, create this type of relationship with one of your professors, if you find that you connect very well with one of your professors, buy them a coffee. Go and talk in an environment that's not school. Like, it's so worth it. And this is something that I now extend to my students too, because, you know, not every student will stay with you forever, but I always tell them before they leave, like, if ever you need someone to talk to, I'm here. And I have had a couple of students come back and been like, I need to talk to you about something, right? So it's like, it's only been like a couple students, 1 or 2 students, I think, who have done this, but I know that it's been worth it. And it's kind of my way of continuing what Dr. Bob did for me and what he's still doing for me. That's how I'm sort of continuing it forward. You know, and it's so important to have someone like that, you know. It's crazy. But yeah, that's a little bit more of a background as to why those coffees happened.
But I think it fits in with our overarching theme in this one, although I don't think we meant for it to happen. We were talking about professional networking. But then I think at the bottom of it, we just realize that, you have to realize that we're all human.
Yeah.
And through that, you develop and you build that genuine connection with each other. Not because of the profession that you're engaged in, but because of our common humanness.
Exactly. And I think that's what getting a coffee together, getting a tea together, sharing a meal together, it really humanizes the other person for you.
You're willing to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
At those moments, I think. It
is very strange. Like, I think most people don't realize this, how humanizing sharing a meal together is. It's such a bonding experience to share a meal with someone.
It is.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It is. Our bachelorettes were over food too.
Well, I mean, a lot of what we do is with food. Maybe we should be eating dinner now.
I know. Like, you know, for those of you guys who are watching, a little bit of a behind the scenes, I was actually 10 minutes late to this because I was making a tea.
I had one with my
Yep. So Carrie also has a tea. It's actually it's crazy how humanizing it is to share something together, you know, and to share. I don't know, it's just something about sharing a meal. It's just insanely bonding.
Yeah. I think that's how we first developed our connection too. Wasn't really a meal, but I think it was more of a drink or coffee or tea.
We would bring our lunches from home.
Oh, yes, and we'd sit by the lockers.
Yeah.
I remember that. We would microwave each other's meals and bring it, well, for context, at UBC, University of British Columbia, the music school, I don't know if it is still the same now, but the microwave was up on the top floor. And we would just go upstairs, microwave our meals, come back down to the 3rd floor, where there was more space to sit, and we just sit down on the floor and eat and chat.
We did that all the time. There's something insanely bonding about that. I also remember sharing meals with people. I'm sure you remember doing this too. You know, like right after long practice hour sessions or something like that, we all come out of the practice rooms just exhausted, and everyone decides to go either, you know, heat up some food together or something like that. And then we all just kind of veg on that 4th floor, you know, in the middle.
Yeah.
And we're all just kind of eating and like vegging together and just, you know, decompressing together.
Yep.
I remember those moments clear as day, because there was just something so, like, you felt like you were all battling the same thing together, you know? Mm-hmm. The camaraderie really helped push us through, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really hope, I remember how ratty that lounge area was. Do you remember how ratty it was? Like,
you would sink right in.
Yeah, there's like no support at all in these couches. It was they were probably like super hand-me-down couches that just like were completely broken. Like, oh man. But it was funny. Also, that microwave was like so dirty.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It worked.
It worked, so we all used it.
It was the only one in the building.
Yeah, there was only one. There was only one. I really think there really should have been more than one. But it's, you know, like, y'all share the same things, you know. There was that stupid vending machine up there, do you remember? With like the like random overpriced bags of chips and cookies and stuff like that.
Chocolate bars.
Yeah. People would buy those, and every time someone would start eating it, I remember without missing a beat, anyone who bought one and started eating it would immediately say, "Oh, this is so unhealthy, but I'm so hungry."
Yeah.
We've all had those moments, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, you develop a bond with those people that you do that with, and it will take you into your professional work, because you know, you end up thinking of those same people.
Mm-hmm. Really, that's where the networking starts.
Yeah. It's really just being friends.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It works though.
It does. All right. What else do we have on our list here?
I see something about business cards.
I have a lot to say on this, but
go for it.
Shall I go for it?
Go for it.
Okay, so again, a bit more background is into why I created my own business card. It's because my dad had one. So just following in my dad's footsteps, I was like, you know what? I'll make business cards too. So I went on Vistaprint. My God, it's so cringy thinking about it. But, you know, I did the whole thing where, like, you know, you put your name, you put your phone number, email, and then you put, you know, your credentials. So at the time that I made this, I did not have my bachelor's yet. I was in the middle of my bachelor's. So what kind of credentials can you put on there? So I don't know if I told a lot of people, but in the middle of doing my bachelor's, I actually went to get my ARCT diploma from RCM, Royal Conservatory of Music. And the reason why I did that was because I'm just being completely honest with you guys here, okay? Being completely honest. It was because I was planning on staying in Vancouver to teach flute as my career. That's what my original plan was. That's not what happened, but that's what my original plan was. And my thought was that I would attract the Asian parents with my ARCT diploma.
Oh, wow.
Because a lot of Asian parents, at least where I lived, they did not understand the significance of a bachelor's of music. But they understood ARCT because they were all trying to get their kids to go through the Royal Conservatory of Music. It's based in Toronto. It's basically, for our listeners, it is basically the Canadian version of the ABRSM. I keep forgetting what the ABRSM stands for. Do you remember?
Associated Boards of the Royal Schools of Music.
There you go. Royal schools?
Multiple.
Schools of music?
Schools
Yeah.
Of music, yeah.
So RCM is the Canadian version of that, and it's based in Toronto. It's essentially a program that you can enter basically almost self-studied or with a private tutor.
Yeah.
And you can go in and sign up for these practical exams and get marked to see whether you pass, to get a certain grade level, etc. So I went for the performance diploma. I did not go for the teaching diploma. There was actually an education diploma version. I did not go that route because I was too lazy. There were more prerequisites and stuff like that I had to do for that. And I was like, no, I'm too lazy to do that. No one cares anyway. Everyone just sees ARCT and that's all they care about, right?
Yeah, woo.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's either ARCT performance diploma or it's ARCT like something like teacher's diploma. So anyway, I only went for the performance one because it was easier to do than the teacher's one. I am lazy, guys. I don't know if you guys have noticed this yet from our podcast. I am like the epitome of lazy. So anyway, I just kind of, bit the bullet and did that because I was like just wanting to use that as a marketing device. Mm-hmm. And so as soon as I got my ARCT, like as soon as I got it, I think I got it in my end of second year, somewhere in third year or something like that. Okay. I put it on my business card. Okay. So I put like Joanna, last name, comma, ARCT diploma, and it was like, because it actually does count as a legit degree. I don't know if you guys know this, but it does count as a legit degree because it is a diploma. So, and it just looks so like, impressive, especially considering I had not even like gotten my bachelor's of music yet. Was it actually useful? Kind of not really. It's because the people that I was handing it to, they honestly couldn't care less that I was a flutist. I thought back then that professional networking was basically passing out your business card to as many people as possible. That is not actually the case. The thing is, most people will just lose your business card. And people won't care. People will just throw your business card away first thing because why do they care? Here's the thing. How do you actually get people to call you up for gigs or to be a teacher? It's usually by referral. So it's usually word of mouth, right? Yep. Normally what happens is someone will, for example, just so you guys know how this works in our circles here as professionals, usually one of our friends outside of our music world will text us and be like, hey, do you know someone who teaches piano? And then you'll be like, yes, I have like 5 friends that I really trust to teach piano. Let me go ask them for the contact info that they want to give out, and then I will give that to you. And then you as the middle person, you just end up like waiting for your friends to answer. If whatever they answer back, you pass on the contact info to your friend, and then you're out. That's usually how it works. The business card, in truth, did nearly nothing for me. What really worked for me, though, was putting content out on YouTube, weirdly enough, because YouTube ended up becoming essentially a portfolio of what I was capable of. That's actually why the Flute Center of New York, for example, ended up contacting me to be one of their influencers, because they saw me reviewing my own flutes in my bathroom. And because I had nowhere else to review them. And they liked what they saw and knew, and they could see potential in that. So they ended up cold emailing me to ask me to be an influencer with them. And so now I've been reviewing flutes with them ever since. But it's really because I put content out. YouTube was basically my portfolio of what I was capable of. That has really helped. The other thing is my brand name, Just Another Flutist, really rolls off the tongue really easily. A lot of people will remember this name very easily. And so a lot of people will actually remember me from my brand name, not from my own name. And that really sticks in people's minds. So even if they lose my business card, they remember the brand name.
Yep.
So those are the lessons that I learned about creating a business card. It's never really proved useful for me at all. How about for
I
you?
have a slightly different take on that.
Yeah.
I still believe in business cards just because, but maybe not in the way that you would expect. Sometimes I do have personal ones, and now I do have ones that are associated with the Vancouver Academy of Music.
That's important, right? If you're like representing a institute, I think those are really important business cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when people approach me for lessons, of course, it's my own that I give out.
Yeah.
When people come to VAM, to the Vancouver Academy of Music, it's the institution one that I give out.
Yeah.
But like for lessons, when I give out, when parents ask for my contact information, I say, here you go, here's my card. Of course, like anyone else who gives out their business card, they're going to trust that that person retains it, hangs on to it, right?
Yep.
And that hopefully they will eventually call you, contact you to discuss lessons or something of that sort. Not really. It ends up being another person who actually contacts me who got my information from that person
Who had your business
who
card.
had my business card. So I guess the card works in a way, but not in the way that I expected.
It's like it always works in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, it still works to the point where I feel it's still worth having it on hand just in case.
For me, I actually stopped printing business cards because my work is so like settled online that I don't really have anyone to give business cards to.
Yeah.
So
It's a digital business card that you have.
yeah, so my website basically serves as a digital business card. Basically, if people want to find out what my credentials are, they can now go to my my website. They can go to my about page and read about me. And you know, so I fashioned my website to essentially be an extended business card, right? So the first page has me, has my brand, has what I do. I just kind of like siphoned everything down to like 3 things I do. So people know what I do. People know that I'm partnered with the Flute Center of New York. People know I have merch. Yeah. Okay. The next page is my about page. They can read more about me, and I have samples of me doing a Flute Center of New York review. I have samples of me practicing, and then which is what I'm known for my online content. And then I think my next page is for my stream schedule. That's really just for my my followers to know when I'm streaming. And then I have my online lessons page, and that one has all the rules, has the like, you know, basically instructions on how online lessons work with me. I have a consultations page, which is exactly the same thing, but just for consultations. And then I have like my merch link that links to my merch page. And then I have my contact page, which has a contact form. And it has my socials there so people can find me. But it's like essentially the entire website is an extended business card. I have found after like tweaking my website several times over the years that like less is more. And, you know, you really want to treat the website like a business card. It didn't really occur to me to do that until actually fairly recently. My website, I almost kind of felt like I used to feel like was more of a portfolio. I no longer think that. I no longer think that, you know, as a musician, you can have a section of your website that is a portfolio-like, right? If you wanted to put recordings of yourself up and stuff like that, that's great. But don't put too much. I find that
overwhelm the person.
Yeah, you'll overwhelm whoever's looking at your stuff, you know? So like, I find that once I started to treat my website as an extended business card, I was like, okay, actually this makes a lot more sense now. You know, like I studied so many other people's websites, by the way, to get to this conclusion. This did not come out of thin air, okay? I did things like I studied the Wong Fu Productions website. I liked how they have recently changed it. I've actually seen their website from before when they used to do their own HTML code. And then I've seen how it's evolved to now, how they run it. I've noticed that they've gone more simple as well. Like every creator that I have like looked at their website at, like the best ones were actually the simplest ones. Yeah. And like the most straightforward, to the point, not too much stuff, but just enough so that you know at a glance what they're about.
Right.
Yeah. It's actually, oh my gosh. I can't even tell you guys how many hours I spent looking at people's websites to see how to do this, you know? It really did not come out of my butt. Like, I want a lot of people to know I do not, like, you know, pull these things out of my butt. It is like hours and hours and hours of research, looking at other people's content, seeing how they do it, examining why it works, examining why some of my stuff doesn't work, fixing the stuff that doesn't work, tweaking it until I like arrived at this conclusion that, oh, it's an extended business card.
Yeah. Well, it's just like what we said earlier on. We, as much as we think we can function alone, no. That was indirect help from other people.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's what I'm learning is to share with people that this stuff does not just come out of my butt, you know, that I do not think of these things from thin air. That no, I don't. I am the product of like researching the hell out of this stuff, you know? And it's, yeah, definitely there have been many people before me who established this type of, you know, way of doing business, right? I'm just learning from them and tweaking them to fit my business, you know? Yeah.
Same goes for biographies too. Same, and that goes for maybe a little tip for our listeners or viewers who are thinking of writing your own bios for publication on websites or for inclusion in concert programs.
Oh yeah.
I used to write long bios when asked for. I thought it was like an autobiography listing all my qualifications, listing all the awards, scholarships that I've been awarded, all the ensembles that I played with.
Yep.
Everything. All the fine points of education, all the teachers, all the professors.
Yep.
No, I don't think you need to do that. I mean, from what I've read, again, I've read other other professionals' biographies. It's short and it's to the point and it's recent. That's the most important thing that I learned. I don't know why I realized that so late. It has to be recent.
You're not the only person realizing it so late. I only just cut down my bio on my website to the shortened one that is current right now last month.
Okay.
It's recent. I also only came to this conclusion very recently.
Yeah. I guess it's a good conclusion that we came to.
I think so. I like that we can like corroborate each other's findings.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I feel validated.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we are, again, back to that point, we are all human and we're constantly learning and improving.
Yeah. Exactly.
Progressing, if not improving.
Oh, man, I really do feel very validated that you found out exactly the same thing.
Yeah, that's good. High five, virtual high five.
Hey. Well, what do you think? I feel like that's a good place to stop for today.
I think that's a happy note to end on.
I know, unlike our other episodes that have been such downers.
Yeah, well.
So heavy,
such
you know?
is life.
Well, would you like to end us off today?
Sure. So thank you everyone for listening, for tuning in, and we hope you will join us in our next episode. If you want to connect with us, you can connect with us through our social media channels. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Anchor.fm. And you can also find us on our website and if you want to connect with us through email as well, you can feel free to email us at letsplayitbyear.podcast@gmail.com. That is letsplayitbyear.podcast@gmail.com. We welcome your questions, comments, share your experiences, please, and anything else that you would like to tell us too.
Yay!
So thank you.
Thank you all for joining us today. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.